Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, it's 3 o'clock. This is Rick Usey from Zecorum. Thanks for joining me for Tech Tuesday. Today I'm going to be talking about how to troubleshoot voice connections in TruVision if you've got an integrated EMTA using our VoIP tab or the VoIP Diagnostics. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks again for joining me for Tech Tuesday. This is Rick Usey. Today again I'm going to be talking about TruVision and specifically the VoIP or voice diagnostics that we have in there for those of you who are TruVision customers or who may be interested. If you're not currently a TruVision Diagnostics customer, it's an application we have that does diagnostics for DOCSIS and fiber networks. If you have any questions today, you can join us. You can type those in the chat and I'll respond to those as I can, or any comments that you want to make while we're doing the broadcast. Be happy to do that. So let's dive right into TruVision and the VoIP Diagnostics tab. So if you're a TruVision customer, this should look familiar. We've got our normal screen where we have the modem information up here, and you've got devices. You've got your modem statistics here that we can look at, the communications information, the usual stuff that you're used to. We've got our information on signal quality on the various channels, and then a nice feature here, we've got our modem port status right here where we can look at different ports. And this is interesting right here. So as we look at this, if this customer were to call in and tell me that they had a voice problem, if I were in end user support, for example, I'd be looking at this screen maybe to start, and I would see that they have some issues on their receive transmit panel right here, and there's also some uncorrectable code word errors that this device is reporting. Then as I look down here, I also see that this modem port, this particular port right here, is reporting code word errors as well. So that's nice to know sometimes that if somebody's reporting an issue, you might not, let's say for example, maybe you wouldn't see any issues here, but you might see an issue here on the port. And that might tell you that this is something that would be impacting other subscribers possibly. We've got our map here, and as I look at the map, I see that this is the only house subscriber on the street that's red. It looks like I've got a few that are yellow. That would be kind of a warning stage, but the only one that's an alert stage is this one that we're looking at right here with the little house in the pin. And I see some that are green that are no problem. And I can always drill in on this map, and I can drill in further, and I could expand that out and look at the whole area if I wanted to and see what's going on with these various subscribers in this area if I wanted to do that. So again, if I'm on the phone with a subscriber, if this subscriber has a compatible EMTA, then this VoIP tab right up here will be highlighted or active so that you can actually click on it. We support Aris, we support Hytron. I believe that may be it. I know we were trying to support Technicolor at one point. I'm not sure about Motorola, but if this is an EMTA that's supported, then you should be able to click this tab. And if for some reason, if you click that tab and it says that you're not licensed, it may be that you're not licensed to use this module, in which case you can call your business account manager and they can talk to you about that. So again, this voice tab is probably where you would go next. So I just would go ahead and click that. And what that's going to do, you'll see that a lot of the screen stays the same. So you have the information up here that you need on the device. Down here, we've now added information about the lines. So you can see information on line 1 and line 2. And right now, line 1 is selected, so that's what we're looking at. Here you've got your battery information, and right here it says it's an alert and no time remaining, no capacity. In this case, this particular operator, I noticed as I was looking at their devices, does not, they must not have batteries in these devices. I don't know if that's an optional item or it's something that you turn on, but in this case, they all say they don't have batteries when I looked at them. So that's why this would be in this state. But if this was a device that had a battery, which is a good idea if you're providing VoIP service, because if the power goes out, then the customer can still call, and they can still call 911, for example, if they needed to. So that's always a good idea to have a battery backup for your customers in this case. But in this case, this is not active, but we do see the alert here that that's the case. And over here, again, we see the same signal quality panel right here. We see the same map here, and this would be the customer's data here, which is obviously blurred out since this is a live subscriber that I was looking at yesterday when I took these screenshots. And then down here, what we've put in is call history. So this is the call history that's gathered whenever I click this VoIP tab, it goes out and it gathers the call history that's available in the modem, and whatever that might be. And it depends on the modem and maybe how long it's been in there, but I've seen anywhere from 10 calls, 20, I think even 30 I've seen for this particular model. So I'm looking at the last calls that are stored in this modem that we went out and grabbed, and you can see right away that I've got, with the color-coded red here, it makes it very easy to see that I've got a warning on my MOS scores. That's your mean opinion score for voice quality, and I've got that for both CQ and LQ. And generally, if you've got a MOS score that's 4 and above, that's good. And if you're below 4, you're okay. For example, this 3.5 is okay. It's yellow, but it's not yet at a warning state. If you get a little bit lower, it's going to turn red. And that's what we're seeing right here. So this particular call that took place at 9:28, actually on 9:28 at 10:11 a.m., they did not have a good experience. So we can see that there's not a lot of issues with it, but on this particular case, on this particular call, they had a problem. So there was maybe something going on that we could check in on that. Now, if I want to drill in further, I can look at historical information that goes further back than this. This, again, is pulled from the modem. But every time that we get a call like this, where it's a bad MOS score, we go ahead and put that in a database so that it's available to be queried later. And when I was just pointing that out. And when I click that right here, this button right here, I'm going to drill in, and I get this report. And I can see now what I'm looking at defaulted to July 1st, 2020, all the way out to when I was looking at this report yesterday, 9:28. And I get a list of all of the calls that the subscriber's made. And really, this is not all of the calls, I'm sorry. This is all of the bad calls that the subscriber has had take place. So you can see the call start dates and times right here. This, I honestly don't know. This is when it was polled and it got this information. So I don't know why these dates are what they are. For example, if I look at September 25th, and I'm looking at a call start date of September 18th. I'm not sure why. And then here's one from September 23rd. I'm not sure why that polling date shows up the way it does here, but this is the call start time. And one thing just to point out to you is with the way the screens format sometimes, depending on the size of the screen and the width of the column, the device you're looking at, it may look kind of funny. So in this case, it's September 18th on this call right here, 2020, and that's at 11:57 and 26 seconds. So it looks like it's 11:05, and then it looks like it's 7:26 a.m. But no, it's 11:57. So it's 11:57 and 26 seconds. That's in the morning. You can see the same thing on all of these. So you've got 3:38 and 20 seconds on September 23rd. When you see an NA like this, I think it means that the call was just so short, or there was some issue that we just couldn't get any information. So we couldn't get the call start time or the MOS scores or anything. We don't even know the duration. So that's most likely what that is, but we go ahead and put that on this report when we see that. One other thing that you can do on here, before I mention that, so I was looking for that bad call yesterday. And again, that's something that's polled. So it depends on when we're polling whether that bad call is going to show up on here. And that call was yesterday, and I pulled this report up yesterday. So we had not yet polled that to be able to put it in this report. So it doesn't show in here, and I can't look at any other information about that call here. And you can, if it were on here, any of these calls, I can come over here to this little arrow, and I can click it, and that drops down some additional information where I can look at packet information, loss rate, discard rate. I can look at the upstream and downstream transmit power and receive power, and I don't see any issues there during this call. Again, it's showing the battery missing, so that's just an ongoing alert with these devices that it just shows. And then it shows the last time it pulled that battery information. So again, this would be useful if you had a battery in there and you were trying to figure out when it was last pulled there. And then any notes that might be reported as part of that from that pull of data that we stored. So again, that particular call was not showing up on that screen. So when I come back here, there's something else I can do. I've got this this drill in, and this is the same signal quality panel that we have on the device button right here, where we show the cable modem data, and here's the voice. So it's the same panel, and again, that's because this might be very useful for me here. So I can go ahead and drill in by clicking here, and I can see what was going on over time. So that call, if I remember, was around a little after 10 on September 28th. And I can look at this, and as I'm looking here, I see September 28, and this looks like 9 a.m. This is 12. This is noon right here. So I do see something going on here where I've got, in this particular peak, I've got some code word errors. In fact, I've got, what I'm looking at here are correctable code word errors. So there was a big spike. There was a spike earlier on the 27th as well. But I've got a pretty good spike here where I get into the yellow on correctable code word errors, and then I see also, again on the 27th, but also here on the 28th, about the same time, I've got uncorrectable code word errors, which of course can't be corrected. And if you're on a voice call, that's a serious situation because you can't retransmit those packets. Here on correctables, and they're dropped anyway, but on correctables, they can be retransmitted. Again, that's not great for voice because that's probably not going to, you're going to get all kinds of jittery kinds of phone calls. And then here, you just drop the packets. They can't be corrected anyway. So that's interesting. So what I can do on this chart, I can go ahead and, if I drag my mouse when I'm on this chart, I can zoom in. So I just drag my mouse across that area, and when I let go, it's going to drill into that particular time frame. And I do see, again, here, this is the time frame that this call was having a problem, that we were seeing an increase in correctable code word errors as well as uncorrectable code word errors right here. And again, with this being a voice call, even a correctable code word error can be a problem because you're having to retransmit packets, and that could make the voice quality poor. Something else that I can do on this graph, you'll see that nothing is filled in here on the code word errors right now because I was not scrolling over anything. But as you scroll over these charts, for example, if I scroll over this chart right here, then this will tell me what my figures are. You can't see it on here, but it will pop it up here. And then also, this then completes, and I can see my uncorrectable code word error percentage here and my correctable code word errors right there. And I can see right here, this is referring, this is this, you got your channels colored here. So this 1/4/2.0 would be this purple line, and I can see that it hovered around green to yellow here, but it did get over into the warning stage right here. And then of course, anytime you get an uncorrectable error, it's immediately red because that's something that's broken right there. That packet can't be fixed. Here it can be fixed, but it's not so bad where it's in the red as far as the percentage of correctable code word errors. So as I click down, I just scroll down here, and I can see my downstreams, and I don't see any issues there. Everything is in the green. I have no uncorrectable code word errors, and my correctable code word errors, they're all in the green. I have no issues there if I just wanted to check that. So as I go back, something else to look at, right here we've got this action menu, and I can open that up, and I've got two choices here. I've got loop diagnostics, and I've got reset modem. Reset modem is also available on the regular modem diagnostic screen. You can always reset the modem. Of course, that knocks your customer offline for a period of time while that modem reboots. So you want to be careful when you're doing that. Maybe that's something you would do when you're on the phone with the customer and say, well, let me go ahead and reset your modem for you, and we'll see if that fixed the problem. That way you don't have to walk them through that, which is really nice. You've also got this loop diagnostics, which you can do. And the loop diagnostics checks the inside phone wiring. So you can run that right here from TruVision, and the device will check the inside wiring and get the figures for that. Now that's another one. When you click that, it's going to give you a warning, and it's going to tell you that this is going to terminate any calls that are already online. So you want to be careful not to do that just for the heck of it. And I didn't do that. I just went ahead and exited out of that because that would knock somebody off online when they're online on the call. I guess if you were troubleshooting them and they were on that line, it would knock them off. But if they were calling from another line, that wouldn't matter. But just something to note here is that you can see line 1 and line 2, and you can see if they're on hook or off hook. And in this case, they're both on hook, so nobody was using the phone at this time. in both of those cases. And this is nice to know also for troubleshooting purposes. If somebody says, hey, my second line, I can't get any calls, and you realize that it's off the hook or something like that, it's showing off hook. So another little troubleshooting thing that you can do there. There's also something up here that you can run. This is a report that you can run. So you click the report button, and then when you do that, you'll have the report menu here that you can open up. All kinds of reports on this menu, and you can see here you've got your EMTA MOS report. So again, this is going to show you all of the bad MOS scores that occurred, and this is across. This is not just one customer. This is more than one customer, and you'll see when I click that, this should look very familiar. So this is basically the same report form that you saw earlier. The difference was that I was on the screen for that particular subscriber, and I clicked the drill in, and when I clicked the drill in, it knew that I was on that subscriber, so it filled in the MAC address for that subscriber. It knew what CMTS that subscriber was on, so it filled that in. And then it just left these default dates in here of July 1st to 9/28. Now, if I'm looking at my whole cable plant, everybody on the CMTS, I might not want to look this far back. Maybe I'm just looking back for the day or for a week, so I can go in here and click that and adjust that. I've got July. I can click over to September. And if I wanted to do maybe a week, I could click the 21st, and then I got 9/21 to 9/28, and then I would select my CMTS. If you got more than one, you can select those and what you want to look at. Then you come over here to the Run button. You've always got to select Run after you fill in your form, and I click Run, and then I run my report. And you've also got over here, once you run this report, you can download that information as a CSV, or you can print it. If you wanted to, maybe print or download that for a service rep or somebody to look into, you can do that. You'll notice on here now that we've got more than one customer, because this is everybody that was experiencing a bad MOS score during the period selected. You can see here is the first customer we were just looking at, Barbara. That would be her information, so she shows up on this report. And there's the MAC address that we were looking at earlier, and that's what was filled in here to bring up only her information. And I can look at somebody else, for example, this particular customer, Steve, and if I wanted to look at his device, all I need to do is just click his MAC address, and that's going to pull up his device the same way I just saw the other device. And as before, I get my modem diagnostic screen, and I can click the voice tab right up here. And when I click that voice tab, then I get the same, voice diagnostics information that I was getting for Barbara. And you can see it's kind of similar. I have no Codeword errors in this case that I'm showing. I do have this receive power that's in a warning stage, and I've got several in an alert stage on receive power on the downstream. So I've got my upstream warning here and my alerts right here. And I do have a bad call showing up down here. Like the other subscriber, this is the only customer on this particular street or this area that's in a red stage due to this right here. That's what's causing that red, not so much the bad call. And then earlier I scrolled down and I noticed there was one other. So you can see with the scroll bar, there's quite a few calls that are being stored here in this device. And when I scrolled down, there was one other bad call as well. But it's every now and then. So it's most likely corresponding to, if I didn't check, but if I drilled in here, I might see that I had, again, the same kind of thing where maybe I had some Codeword errors or some other particular problem that caused that bad voice experience at that time. So this tool provides a lot of information, obviously, for just troubleshooting a broadband connection, but then also the voice service on top of that if you're providing that type of service. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give me a thumbs up here on the video. You can do that. Click the subscribe button, and you'll be notified. Click the bell, and you'll be notified that anytime that I'm live and doing a live video, or if I post a recorded video, you'll be notified of that as well. Usually once a week at most. I do this live videos once a week, and every now and then we'll post a video as well. So you won't be notified to death, but go ahead and subscribe to our channel and click the little bell. So thanks for joining me for Tech Tuesday. I will be back next week. I'm planning on doing kind of the latest broadband news that I try to do once a month or so. We'll just see what's going on in the broadband industry. And we'll look at some stories about that and kind of give you my analysis of what's going on. So thanks a lot again, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.